Hello and welcome to a demonstration of the Raspy Voice Assistant Toolkit for Home Assistant and Hass.io. Raspy was originally inspired by a project named Jasper, which is a Python-based platform for voice-controlled applications that runs on Raspberry Pis, and you kind of write custom Python modules to handle your voice commands. Now, Raspy works with Home Assistant directly, so any detected commands are forwarded along and caught by Home Assistant automations. So Raspy can control anything that Home Assistant can, as long as you provide a command for it. Raspy is not like an Alexa or Google Home really, in that it doesn't have anything built into it. It's intended for you to customize exactly to your particular needs. And its selling point is that out of the box, it supports a number of languages and it's entirely offline. So your voice doesn't get sent off to Amazon or to Google or anybody. And you can even use it in a setup where you might have, say, a Raspberry Pi listening in one room and a more powerful server in another room that you want to actually do the speech recognition and such. Something very similar in this space is Mycroft AI. They even have custom devices built and everything. Now, as I understand it, you do still need to send your voice out to them, and they do processing on a cloud server. If you're comfortable with that sort of thing, they offer a much sleeker product. But if you'd like to keep everything in-house, and you're kind of more of an advanced user who maybe knows some programming or is willing to learn some extra stuff and want to get really in-depth with Home Assistant, then Raspy might be for you. Okay, I'll show you the Raspy user interface. This is a web-based interface. On this tab, we can interact with it via speech or chat for testing purposes. So I can issue commands like turn on the living room lamp. Raspy will tell me the transcription of what it heard, and it'll provide information about what it sent to Home Assistant. So specifically, it sent an event called Raspy change light state with a name slot and a state slot. Now, these slots were actually defined by me over in this Sentences tab. Here I have a listing of intents and sentences, basically ways to express that intent. These top three ones are very basic. They just give sentences and they have no templating or anything. The ones below here start to get a little bit more advanced. So the one I use to turn the living room lamp on has two different ways of expressing that, and you can see that I've marked the state and name slots here on these rules down here that are used during the generation process of the sentences. So turn on the living room lamp will go and produce what you saw before. I have another one here for changing a light color on something called the bedroom light. I can go demonstrate that. So I can say set the bedroom light to green, and you can see below that it's detected change light color with a color of green. Now I have a local version of Home Assistant running with a basic configuration, and you can see that I've caught that particular event and I've done something with it. So here in my automations YAML file, I have a number of automations that catch the events that Raspy produces, and they match against the slots that they find, and then use that information to call various services in Home Assistant. So here it's caught the name of the light, and it's used the state, which is on or off, to call switch.turn-on or switch.turn-off. Let's see down below, on the change light color, I handle the red, green, and blue explicitly, and I use an MQTT light for demonstration. You could get a lot more intelligent with templates here. And you could probably collapse these all into one rule. Here on the Words tab, you can manage the pronunciations for words that Raspy may not know, or customize them for how you might pronounce them. So you can look up words that are likely in Raspy's large dictionary for your particular language. So I could look up something like Jasper, and it's in the dictionary already, and it'll give me an example pronunciation. Jasper. Now these phonemes here are actually coming from a table down below that describes different phonemes, and examples of how they're pronounced in common words for English in this case. So this is the aw in odd. Now, if you come here and Raspy doesn't know a word, it'll make a guess at the pronunciations using a tool called Phonetosaurus. So I can type in Moogle. It says it's not in any of its dictionaries. It does give 5 guesses at the pronunciations. The first one here is Moogle, which is how I would pronounce it. Others may disagree. The second one is Moggle. I pronounce it Moogle, so I'm going to add that pronunciation to my custom dictionary down here. I'll save that. And now, with that brand new word, I can come over to one of my sentences and make a modification. So rather than say, set the bedroom light to blue, red, and green, I could add in Moogle as another color. And save that. And then retrain the system. And this will go out and retrain the speech recognizer and the intent recognizer. So when I come back to the speech tab, I can say, set the bedroom light to Moogle. And you can see it has picked up the new word. And it's passed it along as a color to Home Assistant, which won't be able to do anything with that since it doesn't have a handler for that. Just to demonstrate, I can actually come back here. I can remove that word, both from my custom words and from my sentences. I'll retrain again. And now when I come back, I can try again. Set the bedroom light to Moogle. And you can see now it thinks I'm saying blue, which is the closest it could guess. You can get pretty in-depth with what you can put in here. I was trying out the name of a Doctor Who planet, Rhasspy, and I was surprised. It makes a pretty good guess here. So here's its pronunciation. So it says Rhasspy. Now I say us at the end, which is this AH, as in hut. So I'm going to go in here at the very end. Instead of is, I'm going to say us. And now it's that sounds right to me. So I'll add that. And now I could go in here and say add it as either hot, cold, or this. And now I'll go ahead and retrain. Okay, now back here on the speech tab, I should be able to say now, like, how cold is it?
It is 122 degrees.
But also be able to say, how Rhasspy is it?
It is 122 degrees.
So it picks that up. So you can kind of get as ridiculous as you want with these. What's interesting too is, the word on the left here doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with the pronunciation. So, I can decide that that's just how I want cold to be pronounced. I can get rid of this and retrain again. And now I can say the same thing. How Rhasspy is it?
It is 124 degrees.
And it'll pass along cold. So really this can be whatever you make it. As a final part of the demonstration, I wanted to show the multilingual part of Raspy. Although I only speak English, so I apologize in advance. Raspy currently has profiles for German, Spanish, English, French, Italian, Dutch, and Russian. these are basically the various free and open acoustic models for Pocket Sphinx, as well as language models that the Spacey Python library supports. So I've added the French profile since it's the only one I can remotely make a guess at. When I switch to that, over here I have some new example sentences that I've had a friend help me translate. Here I can ask for the time and such. Over on the words tab, you can see that the phoneme table is changed. For some reason, they've decided to do them in lowercase. And for example, typing in a French word will produce a pronunciation. So, coming over here to the speech recognizer now, I can make an attempt. Quelle heure est-il?
It is 3:44 p.m.
So here it's its transcription, and you can see it's sent over the same Raspy get time event, which I was already able to handle. So I'm not going to butcher any of these other sentences, but just so you know, there's full support here for all 7 of these languages, and I'm hoping to get more people to help translate and provide examples. Thanks for watching, and hope to hear your feedback.